Hello and welcome back to my channel. I am truly zonked, and there's just some things you can't free will yourself out of. Yeah, afraid not. Anyways, okay, folks, we're gonna get right into it. This is gonna be a follow-up episode. It should be significantly shorter than the previous episode, and we're just gonna put our finishing touches on the Silica pod of the Alumtown, my nickname for my aluminum plant. And we're also going to check in on our batteries at the Trickle factory, but we'll get there. So first thing I got to do, in between saving and exiting a session and then loading it up, I habitually make sure I save my blueprints and I clear the designer and I collect my resources right away before doing a save game. Because what happens is when you load the game, if you didn't clear the designer, it'll still have the blueprints in place, but it won't be treating it as a loaded blueprint per se. It'll still think it's an unsaved blueprint, and your description may be lost, or your item settings. I mean, it's no big deal to recreate, just a tedious pain to me at least. And also, I think I mentioned in the past, when clearing the designer, always clear, retrieve your items from the storage box before doing anything else. You can absolutely wind up losing whole stacks of items, and that is not pleasant at all. So first things first. Okay, let's get our blueprints loaded up. We were working. Oh, where am I? Here we are. So I've got Alumtown Silicas 1, 2, and 3. Let's get her loaded. This is the rear. And the center. And the floor. And I do still just enjoy watching these things load up. That's the nice thing about the large blueprints, is it gives you more to enjoy if you like the eye candy kind of stuff like that. And alright, so now, well, almost, we're getting there. Maybe. Deep, 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 deep. I'm sorry. There we go. All right. So we have to wire these for power and also set up our our output belts. That will take a little thinkering, shall we say, because this is going to be a very, very large amount of silica we're producing, and we need to make sure we distribute it properly. Yeah, we're gonna do electrical first, and the reason why I want to do that is it's not a big thing, but the way I do it myself, I have a tendency to wind up making it tricky to put all the cable and wiring in. If I do that after the belting on, depending on the which machine you're using, because it just, it's more stuff you got to maneuver around. All right, so what I'm going to do, and again, this is just my personal technique, I don't kill myself to like absolutely hide the power lines, but I do try to keep them neat. I don't sweat trying to figure out how many machines I can connect to a single power node. I'm fine with one machine per node, as long as it's a nice, tidy, and orderly pattern. And so what I'm going to do is we're just going to start. I'm going to put this guy here. I'm going to put a node right on the edge of the shelf here. I'm going to take that and I'm going to connect it down, right? And we're going to do this all the way down the line for both sides. And then what we will do is we will run a cord that goes down to the bottom, and our electrical supply is going to come up from underneath. All right, so let me get this started here. Oops. And that is not how you do it. I got to take this node and I got to carry it down along this edge. And now I can put one up and then one down and then down along the edge, and so on and so forth. And they connect to two friends, and they connect to two friends, and they connect to two... Okay, now I'm dating myself there. Alright, there's one half. Let's get these guys done. And just a little quick tidbit on how I'm deciding where to place these. So what I normally do is I look at the machine and I decide, you know, see where the node is placed on which half of the machine, which side, left or right being very relative depending on which end you're facing, but also, you know, whether it's more toward the front or the back. Different machines have different placements. So for these assemblers, everything goes down to the right, and these will go toward the front of the machine. So that said, continuing on. I always have to watch out because I have absolutely misclicked numerous times and saved a blueprint to be deployed later on, only to find that I don't have a machine connected. Instead, I've just got some random power pole sitting in the middle of nowhere. Because I'm good at that. Okay, 96 machines individually connected to nodes. The nodes at this point, however, don't go anywhere yet. So what I do, try to find a nice spot where I can sneak a cord through without being terribly visible. So what I'll do, first off, I gotta upgrade actually one of these ports, or nodes, so it can take a 5th cable. I'm gonna take a cable off of that, and I like this little space right down the center of the line here. So I'm gonna bring him here, and the next time that game loads, that will be drawn tighter and that will be less visible. But then what we're going to do is we're going to take this node and we're going to go directly through the floor, and I have no qualms about clipping a cable through the floor. I said it before, I just simply roleplay that the Pioneer is perfectly capable of drilling a hole in concrete. Now we're going to drop it down one level further here, and now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this, I'm going to run that over this way, and basically just attach him and mirror that setup going back upwards through this level. And oops, I gotta upgrade. Oh, this one doesn't need the upgrade. Right. We're good. Okay, alright. Now I need to do that 2 more times. When I was demonstrating the heavy oil residue build in the previous episode before last, I had done it in a way where I needed to make sure I connected, you know, these guys above ground, you know, above the along the shelves, the platforms, as it were. And honestly, that was a mistake. I just kind of set myself up for failure. If I keep it all underneath in the logistics floor, it will work much smoother, and I'll show you why in a minute. But first, let me get these in place here. Oh, I've erased a tile. Oh yes. And also, while I was editing my video yesterday, I did accidentally erase some splitters, literally as I was talking about being careful to not erase your splitters. Yeah, because I do that kind of thing to myself. Yeah, it's their behaviors everybody suffers from, but when you suffer them after a certain point of frequency, that's when it's a problem. Okay, so each of the 3 segments now has connections, so a main line. This will be a primary internal circuit underneath here. Now, what I'm going to do, when I'm wiring these, I tend to take, alright, I've got a pod, and my pods generally kind of follow this orientation, you know, this lengthwise back to front orientation. And what I normally wind up doing is I showed how I maintain typically 3 isolated circuits. There will be a main power line for outside, an internal primary circuit to power the lower end, the initial machines, and then a secondary internal circuit for upper end machines. Not always needed, but it's good to have options. Anyways, so what I'll do is, as this pod goes this way, I will run lines down this line, this back edge here, and then I'll bring them along this left-hand edge all the way at the front. I am not going to worry about bringing a lateral connection on each of the segments. The one along this segment here will be sufficient, and as long as I follow that pattern, these snap together so neatly. As far as lining up and keeping your power connections aligned. Aligned. Right. All right, so the way that I do it, we'll go over this quickly again, is I like to stagger my connections, and I like to place them on painted beams so I can see at a glance who's doing what, and the way that I paint these. So in this case, our primary outer grid is going to be the bright green for the new Nuketown, or large nuclear plant. The primary internal circuit will be a pale green, and I don't need to paint him. He's white already, so I did it again for fun because I am that way. And anyways, all right, so now we'll stick some nodes on these. And this way, as long as I follow this pattern, my circuits come out nice and neat and very visibly, separated, and much more easy to manage and add things to as needed, if needed. So what I'll do, let me let's see, can this, yes, I believe this will go all the way down here with no interruptions on the side. Let's get these in place. It really doesn't matter which direction you're staggering them in, they will follow the same rules regardless. There we are. Thank you. And let's get these colored. I don't remember how I got that set to white. The default color. Oh, it's not important. Alright, and let's put some nodes on that. I mean, yes, I could just string the nodes there. It just saves me a step later on. So now what I will do is, because that's less than 12 wide, it will reach 12 long, but I like to put things in the middle, just, for some extra stops. And also, in case I do wind up flying around with the hover pack, we've got some support nodes built into the floors to support us. So let's see if I do this way. Alright, let's get some cables running down here. Let's get these connected. I think I goofed one. Yes, I did. Alright, had to wait for the autosave. Let's just erase this guy. He is in the wrong place. Again, it's much more easy to see when you've done something wrong when they're nice and lined up like this. Now, there we go. And I like how they kind of come out, almost looking like guitar strings. Bring! I can't play guitar. Let's get these down to the ends. Oh, I didn't push down the ends. Alright, Alright, here's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to put my nodes. I'm going to string my nodes all the way down. Not string them. I'm going to stick my nodes all the way down and paint them, and then we'll wire them all at once. So get these in place. I'll worry about coloring in a moment. Trying to keep them mostly divided evenly, but it's not super critical. Alright, let's get these colored. So, and actually the color that these tiles are all defaulting to, if anybody gives a damn, is black on black. Yep, not that you can tell, it doesn't look terribly black, it's just dark gray, but that's what it is. Alright, let me finish putting up these nodes. They're not, I mean, yeah, again, like I said, you can put them up with just by the wiring, but you don't always wind up with one where you need them when you need them. And so I just like to do these, at least for this part, in advance. Oh, out of wire? Seriously? I see, how am I looking on wire? I think I'm beyond good here. These signs need a moment to register the contents. Okay, so well, he's got too much in it to be counted as an empty bin, so I'm going to de-red him. That's an empty bin though, so he'll stay red. This is my visual indicators. He is totally full. We will take away his red because he's not empty anymore. Oops. And let's see, I think, is anybody else? No, it's all good. Alright, copper wire. Okay, that should last for a few. Let's finish these up quickly. Alright, let's get them strung. Alright. Is this... every once in a while, the field of vision, the way it distorts things, it makes me think things are out of alignment when they're on the edge of the screen, when they're really not, and it always makes me stop and check things, which I suppose there's worse things. So, okay, now what I will do, alright, so again, bright green is our external main power. Nothing inside the factory will be connected to those, but what I do usually wind up doing is for the pumps, the water pumps underneath the factory, those I will put on the external power. They don't need to be, I mean, they could go on the internal power, but I like anything that's like a raw resource related, I like to be on the main power. You know, you're just never waiting for that resource to fill. It's always on the way. And then, you know, you just turn on the factory and your internal circuits kick on. So now for the internal circuits, all right, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to leave myself a little visual indicator going multiple directions here. So one goes up, one goes this way. These are directional and colored indicators. And these are just to remind myself, oh, what the hell I've got going on here. When I'm looking at things where I'm looking for a place to connect something new or unexpected. It really sucks to have to trace everything. And we're going to color the pale green for the primary internal circuit. And so basically, these directionals, so one indicates that the power goes up, you know, to the block above. One will indicate that the power goes that direction to supply this platform over here. And then one will go over here, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick a line right in the middle here. And actually, I'm going to delete him temporarily. Let me stick a block in here. Make sure I've got this in the right spot. Okay. Let's get a string of power cord here. And we'll take him, connect it down there. And then this, connect there. And yeah, I could have used the newer feature where you can insert a node into the middle of an existing line, but when I've got them grouped together like this, it gets a little dodgy. It's just it doesn't always play nice. So in fact, you can see here, like I'm trying to paint it, and it's basically more or less the same effect. Oh my god, I just want to paint the block. Thank you. Okay, so let me do this down for the other two segments in the exact same way. In fact, well, let's try it here. Okay, so I want the node to be on this line. Start there, slide it down to. Is it underneath? It is. It's above, rather, the correct node or line. Let's see if I can put him in. I gotta try and highlight the line. I want it to. Let's see, hold on. Is it doing it? There we go. Alright. Stick a line, send him down over here. Oh, and that is not correct. This is absolutely also something I have accidentally left in a blueprint, only to discover later on. Yes, no, that does not power the devices. And get him connected, get him painted. And it's lined nicely. Good. All right, one more. See, now that one didn't. Oh well, it's not important. Let's just get them wired anyway. Right. Okay, so now, basically what will happen now from this point, when I've got it out in the field and assembled, and I've yet to determine where I'll put my main power switches. That's not important at the moment though. But basically what will happen is when I do have all that wired, when I do flip the green power switch, all of these will come on. I don't have to worry about a half dozen connections on the upper side, as long as I remember to keep these connected when I place them. And that will just work. Now, let me save these, because we had a crash yesterday. And it kind of sucks to have a crash when you've put in some effort into something tedious. Save the game. Alright, now. So that's all in place. I don't have to worry about making it too tedious to work around belts. Now we can get our belts in. Okay, so over to the spreadsheet really quickly. Okay, so our silica pod here will be producing a total output of 4,680 silica per minute. That will be used in this pod, which will consist of comparatively scant 63 foundries. And that will get combined with 5,616 aluminum scrap and wind up producing 3,744 aluminum ingots. Okay, so we're less concerned about the ingots themselves right now, but we do need to know, alright, so how are we going to divide up these the silica amongst 63? Well, first off, we're not going to do 63. We're going to bump that to a nice, easily divisible 64. And make a little note here that I adjusted this manually. And in fact, I got to fix that one. 79. It's 13. All right. So, okay. Well, it shouldn't be that difficult then, huh? Really, just 8 belts out. Okay, let's do the math here just for sake of thoroughness and sureness. So we're going to do just a little couple numbers echoing over here. I'm going to echo the amount of silica, the amount of silica needed per machine on the base recipe. I'm going to mirror over our clock speed and then I'm just going to multiply the base recipe amount by the clock speed, and that gives us our actual usage. So they won't be using 75 silica per machine per minute. They'll be using 73.125. Now, so, and all this stuff on the side, I can just scrap this as needed. I don't keep these. This is not the important stuff. This is just basically scribbling on a napkin, you know. So 4680. So let's see if I take, let's just echo this. 4680 up here, and we're going to split that out to 8 belts, right? So that's going to turn out to how much per belt? 585 per belt. And then what I should get is something like this. So if I take this 585 and I divide that by 73, I should get 8. I got 8. That is good. All right. So the overall pod will have 8 outbound belts. But because the blueprints, the 3 segments, are 1/2 of the pod, we only have to worry about 4. All right. So let's get over there. All right. So how do we do for... Oh, easy then, I guess. We have 4 rows, and so we're just basically going to do long manifolds for each one. Just bring it all the way. Well, actually, we're on the back. We're going to go that way. It's really not important. It's absolutely a personal preference thing, and may actually come out to the layout of your factory. And I've absolutely had blueprints where I set the layout to go in one particular direction, but then I realized after I'm actually getting things placed, oh no, that doesn't work, and have to redo them after they're already in place. So, like I said before, giant blueprint designers doesn't mean you're just whipping out, you know, mega factories with no work at all. Oh no, they are absolutely still working at getting them placed. Okay, so this really is not going to be very difficult at all. What I'm going to do, just for the sake of making things easier to place, we're going to get our temporary foundations. Let me do this down the lines here. One thing I do like about the Smart mod is the camera view, which gives you a little, you know, on the upper left there, it shows you what's going on at your farthest reach of your extended building placement there. Very handy, very useful. Okay. Now, let's get our mergers placed. Now, I won't be putting a merger there because that's going to be the beginning of our line. Let's rotate him to correct direction. Let me get these plunked down. This should happen quickly. Okay, now for these segments, because they're just going to get snapped together with the previous one, they do require the merger at the beginning. Let me get these all lined up. One more segment to go. Okay, that's all our mergers. So now we want fast belts going down the main lines. Alright, now we need slow belts connecting the individual machines to the mergers. It's good to be in the habit of double checking your blueprint. In this case, the output is 24.375, so Mark 1 is all we need. There are plenty of recipes, though, where even if you have them downclocked, they can still be over 60 or over 120. You always need to make sure, if you're going to do this slow belt, fast belt thing, to connect them with the most appropriate slow belt. Basically, it's got to be fast enough to take what it's gonna to take it to take what's gonna be shoveled out. All right, but we're gonna use Mark 1s for these now, and let me get these snapped together. Alright, and now let's take out our temporary foundations here. These are no longer needed. And just reminded myself there about the... yeah, there's one of them. The splitters I accidentally deleted. There's another. Let me get these fixed quickly here. And then triple check and make sure there aren't any others. Because I'm good at that. Alright, I believe that is it. And... oops. Let's fix your paint. Actually... save these quickly. And do a game save. Okay. That's it. That is our set of plans for a very large silica pod. One half which will be placed twice to create a total of 192 machines, creating an absurd amount of silica. I'm not worried about placing the output ports on these just yet. We'll wait till we actually get these out in the field and see how things wind up shaping out. Things don't necessarily come out the way that you think that they're going to, so it's good to leave yourself some kind of flexibility. But otherwise, that's it. Yep, she's all ready to go. She's got electricity. She's got all belted. She's just going to need to be placed. Have the quartz and limestone brought in, and we'll be ready to shell out massive amounts of silica. And it is good. And I'm actually relatively confident. Not that it means much, that this is mostly error-free, if not completely. So that's really about all I wanted to do for this little extra bit of an episode, but we are going to check in on our trickle factory. And that is regarding the issue where in the past I had experienced my drone ports were consuming too many batteries when I seemed to work at specific areas. It seemed to be resolved when I worked in a different area, and I really just needed to go back to where I was working when I first experienced the problem, which was our blueprint array. And now let's go see. So I put in probably about 3-ish hours working on that. That should be enough to let us know if we've lost batteries or not. And I have not. As long as those lines are packed, it's working correctly. So, yeah, and I absolutely did make sure that, that, you know, this was a thing. I mean, I did go and post on the Satisfactory questions board. I found an existing post, and I simply added my 2 cents and my observations. And some point afterward, it was labeled fixed internally, and yet the problem is no longer occurring on mine. So I'm not sure how they snuck a change through, because my CL number hasn't changed. But yeah, just stay aware. Yeah, it could happen. Okay. Folks, that's it. That's all I really want to do. We'll get into more stuff later on. We'll be continuing blueprinting the aluminum town and figure out which block of machines our next pod we're going to do next. It might be the refineries. We might just be working our way backwards. I'm not sure. It doesn't matter. It'll all work out, and then we'll actually get this thing placed. So, okay. Leaving this one here. Hope you enjoyed this episode. And until next time, as always, stay healthy and take care out there.